Hi guys! So over the last year, I've been working on my Girl Scout Gold Award project, and I did that by teaching art lessons to kids aged 10 through 12 at an after-school organization. So what exactly is a Gold Award? So it's the highest award a Girl Scout can achieve, and a Girl Scout has to put at least 80 hours of their time into focusing on a certain issue, and for me, that is art appreciation. Though I typically work better with people who are older than me, I wanted to target a younger audience so they could learn about art appreciation at a younger age and they could carry it with them as they grow older. So, how exactly do you teach an art lesson? So first, you need to plan what you'll be teaching, what supplies you have, and how much those supplies will cost. But you need to be ready to change those plans in case something happens because a lot of stuff could happen, like realizing that one of your lessons is too difficult or too easy for your students. You don't have to plan out all of these lessons in one go, and I strongly advise against that because, as I've already been stressing, a lot of things could change. But I advise you to come up with a lot of ideas at first and plan some of them into classes, teach a few, observe what happens, and then you could really start planning after the first few classes because now you know how your students are like and how the class is like. You won't have to tweak your plans as much compared to as when you planned it before you knew how it was going to be like. If you're having trouble coming up with lesson plans, you can always give surveys to your students since that would really help you to know what they're interested in and it helps planning on your own behalf a lot easier. And it really worked out for me since you don't have to make the survey super complicated. It won't take a long time to just know what they want to do in art class. Subject wise, you don't want to do anything super complicated and you want to pick something that sparks their interest and allows them to express their creativity. For my students, yeah, I pretty much gave them a lot of freedom to choose what they wanted to draw, paint, whatever it was. But I saw that they lean towards drawing out their own names a lot. And if this happens, like the depict one certain object or subject a lot, you can change this up by like telling them to like draw something from a theme, like oh it's summer, like draw something summer related, and someone will like draw like an ice cream cone or like the sun. Yeah, and this way it will let you help the students expand their horizons in subject material. I don't think doing actual lessons for the entirety of your class is a good idea. And what I mean by actual lessons is when you make like the kids sit down and they're like practicing something like shading on a piece of paper and that's boring. It's boring for them, it's boring for you. It's not the most engaging thing that you could do in an art class. But maybe you're different from me. Maybe you could make it interesting. Maybe the aims of your art class are different than mine. I don't know. It's all up to you. You can decide. Changing up your plan to include special occasions like Christmas or other special occasions will add some spice to your lesson plans and the kids will really like it. Speaking of Christmas, um, one of the projects I did was to let them decorate plastic ornaments with gold glitter, and that glitter did not all go onto their ornaments. Like most of it, I think, ended up on the floor or on their hands, and they got like it was a mess. So, what I learned from that was if you have a project that could potentially be really messy, or any project in general, predict some things that will happen that you don't want to happen, and in the instructions, tell them to specifically not do that. And if you really stress it, they won't. If you want to include some educative lessons, such as the color wheel or Byzantine mosaics, it could work if you really engage the students. So, what I mean by engage the students is really talking to them. Like, they really like it when you ask questions like, do you know what this means or what this is? And they will attack you on all sides with answers, and it's really good. And usually for my educative art lessons, I accompanied them with a PowerPoint. You could use any type of visual method of conveying this information, like PowerPoint or Prezi would be okay, because it's visual and art is visual, as at least for the class I'm teaching. And the kids really like looking at art. And because they like looking at art so much, and you could really tell, this is a really good opportunity to show your own art, and this motivates the kids and they respect you more as a teacher. In my lessons, I tried to do a different project at each 1 hour weekly art lesson that I had. So, and this makes them excited for the lesson for the next week because they don't know what they'll be doing, and it will definitely be something different than what they were working on. Oh, and for the first art lesson, definitely incorporate something basic and artsy so you could let your students know each other better and it helps you know them better too. So for my first art lesson, I let them create name tags by letting them draw using crayons or markers and colored pencils. And when they were mostly done, we went around and introduced ourselves. And afterwards, we played Pictionary. It's a really interesting activity to do on the first day, and it lets you know the extent of their art skills as a group. The first class is really important since it lets the students know what they'll be expecting environment-wise. So with the actual leading, have a clear idea of how you want the environment to be like, and it'll all depend on what you want. For me, I was pretty lenient with the kids as long as they were making progress on their own art, so they could get the feeling that art was fun and they could thus appreciate it more. I tried my best not to imitate a rigid and quiet classroom setting, or else that wouldn't have played out to my project's advantage, and the kids would have stopped coming. And about how I acted as a teacher, I wanted to contribute to a warm atmosphere, so I'd say it was pretty nice. And I gave them lots of leeway on projects because they were designed to give them a lot of freedom. But if I had to crack down on them, I still did it if they were misbehaving. And I did that by being mean, really mean. I guess that since I wasn't a teacher that frequently yelled at them, and I only did it on only when a certain kid or kids were misbehaving, they subconsciously knew that it held more impact and was more serious than when I just told them nicely. So anyways, I was aiming to be a teacher that the kids were comfortable talking to get advice from, and in general, I just wanted to help. So just have a clear idea of what type of teacher you want to be and what consequences could arise from you acting that way. Make sure you are also willing to change your methods of discipline or whatever it may be if one method does not work. Yeah, I was a little worried about students dropping out, and it still happened. Like, it wasn't something I had control over. So some of the students in my classes, their parents started picking them up earlier and they weren't able to attend. Some just got too lazy. I think my classes being free of charge and a free service to the community played a really big factor into how I ran my classes. But the people who stayed till the very end, at the end of the entire school year, included around 5 out of the 10 people who originally signed up for my class, and I'd say that's pretty good. So if your lessons are free of charge like mine, and no one's forcing your students to attend, then they'll probably only come for fun to hang out with their friends, and the number of students will vary widely. I originally planned for 10 kids to attend each lesson, but I think after the first month of lessons, the numbers ranged from like 9 to 2. So it would be plausible for you to anticipate this happening and enrolling more kids than your initial so called limit of kids. Mine was 10, by the way, to compensate for the kids who will drop out later in the year. If your classes do have a fee attached, though, these shouldn't be big problems for you. Oh, and make sure to never talk down to your students. Even though they may not understand as much art as you do or whatever subject there is, it doesn't mean that the adult or adult running the class needs to dumb it down or anything. Most of the time, you can just talk to them how you would talk to an adult, and it'll be fine. It usually works. Treat them with respect, and they'll respect you too. Just be an attentive teacher, care about your students, and make sure you're enjoying it too. Or else, no, it's art. Why are you there if you're not going to enjoy it?